Great. So thank you, Lesley, for agreeing to be interviewed. It's very kind of you. Could you start by telling
No
us a bit
problem.
more about you and your work?
Okay, so my name's Lesley Dewhurst and I'm Chief Executive here at Restore. And Restore is an Oxfordshire-based mental health charity. In fact, it's nearly 46 years old. So I've been here for 6 years, but Restore is 46, and long may it go on for another 46 at least. And Restore is an organisation that helps people recover and sort of sustain recovery from long-term or periodic bouts of mental ill health. And we do that through helping people kind of find their feet again. So that's through a combination of attendance at our recovery groups, where we run therapeutic work-based activities such as horticulture, so all sorts of gardening and allotment work, but also making things through arts and craft, woodwork, and cooking. And we also have 2 shops and cafes. So there are recovery groups where the whole point of it is for people to really, like I say, find their feet, maybe realize that they've got skills that they never had recognized were skills, gain confidence, grow all sorts of aspirations again. You know, when you're really down and you just can't focus on anything about how awful you feel, Restore helps open up that kind of windows of possibility into people's futures. And so it's done very much in a group activity place, because people working together to try and solve problems like, you know, why the compost bin's falling to pieces, can really help people actually think, oh, I have got something I can offer. I do know how to do that, and to learn from others. So we couldn't do it without the group. That's the point of it. So our recovery groups are across Oxfordshire, one in Didcot, one in Banbury, and 4 within Oxford itself, one of which is based on the Littlemore Hospital site. And we also have coaching for people both within our recovery groups or external coaching clients. And therefore, what we offer there is a way to help people think through again the what next steps in their life, particularly to do with getting back into employment or volunteering or anything else that brings some meaning into their lives. We work, so our client group is adults, so anybody over 18. And we also have a very inspirational thing called the Recovery College, the Oxfordshire Recovery College, which Restore hosts. And the Recovery College designs and then puts on courses for on any subject to do with our lives and our mental health. And the courses are all co-designed and co-delivered by people who've either got their own experiences of mental ill health and or they work in a mental health setting. And those courses are all free. So look us up on a website, restore.org.uk, and you'll find out about all of those things. We also do a whole variety of other training as well, mental health first aid, training for employers about how to support their staff better, all that kind of stuff. So that in a nutshell is a summary of Restore and what we do.
And your role?
Oh, so my role, yeah, as Chief Executive, I've just got to, you know, help grow, develop, nurture, Restore, make sure that we've got all the right things in place that we need to function, principally money, but also contacts and the external part of Restore, that to make sure that we are talking to the right people in the right places at the right times. And Restore is part of a much wider network called the Oxfordshire Mental Health Partnership. And so between us, we deliver all of the mental health services to adults of working age and beyond in some instances. And that's with Oxford Health, and then the 4 other third sector partners, Oxfordshire Mind, Response, Connection, Support, and Elmore Community Services. And so between the 6 of us, that's what we do all the time.
I've heard about that award-winning, amazing kind of collaborative work. In that sense, it's also co-production, isn't it? Because you're interlinking, you're making sure there's not duplication of effort, which I think is brilliant, complete no-brainer. And I long high hope it continues. And the co-production stuff that you talked about, does that extend? Do you have any co-production or lived experience that goes up to like governance level at all?
We do a lot to try and hear and act on things from any of our service users. We've done something quite recently where we had a co-produced method of evaluating and setting goals, personal goals within recovery groups, and that was, really took time. Proper co-production does take time, but it was people who are members, that is the service users within some of our recovery groups, who volunteered to help think through how to produce a dynamic tool that they could all use to help set personal goals. So that's one example. In terms of governance, we do have trustees who've got their own lived experience, and we do have one current trustee who has been a member of our recovery groups in previous years.
Amazing. Great. And what services do you provide that relate to NHS or health? I suppose I'm wondering also about funding and whether you have any funding from that side too.
Well, the mental health partnership is all, all of the money for the partnership does come from the NHS and local authority funding in a joint budget. And of course, we work on a daily basis with colleagues in Oxford Health, and indeed some of our other colleagues do have services within Buckinghamshire and Berkshire as well. So we are quite broad between us.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a bit more about what made you choose to join the Health Alliance?
Well, we are, I suppose, part of a partnership, which is living proof that you are always need to be greater than the sum of your parts. And what better way when the Bob ICS was formed than to think much wider than our Oxfordshire boundaries. So I must admit, at first I was thinking, oh goodness me, does that mean a forum with hundreds of people in it, which can be quite meaningless. Mm-hmm. But I've really enjoyed being part of the VCSE Alliance, and particularly the mental health subgroup, because actually you can get to know individuals and make contacts. And I know it's an online group, so you don't always make contacts in the same way as you would if you were in person. But on the other hand, it does mean that people attend. So I think that pooling of ideas, and particularly with the smaller organisations that don't normally get a voice, it's really important to hear those voices. And it really does help us all learn. Restore's not massive, but we're bigger than some, and it is important for us to hear about organisations that we need to link in with, or client groups that get overlooked as well. I think that's really helpful.
Yeah. And is there anything you could talk to us about whether it's helped you being part of the Alliance? Have you fed anything into your work from it, or felt heard yourself, or anything like that?
I think what's really helped me is to keep up with just what's actually going on in the ICS. And it's really helped early on when the meeting with Javid Khan was set up, just to hearing the views of how the system might work. And I know that's been quite a bumpy road for everybody within the ICS, but it makes me feel that we've actually got a link through in a way that otherwise I'd be relying on people within a variety of different settings to do with the commissioning structure, say in Oxfordshire County Council or within senior staff within Oxford Health, which does mean that we get information, but to feel that there's somebody who is actively seeking to bring back information into an alliance is really helpful.
And anything that stands out in your memory from the action group, the mental health group specifically? Was there anything feeding into maybe the plans?
Yes, that was really helpful. And I must admit, when you're asked, what do you read this plan and give me your views, and you think, oh, I've got 1,001 things to do and I don't know what my views are. And then it's really helpful when what we had then was a smaller group of people came up with some ideas, and then you think, oh, I do have some thoughts now, and then you can add to that. So I do think that once, it's a little bit like when you start the snowball going down the hill, if somebody started that snowball, then that can really pull something together that's much, much bigger.
And I think it's been really refreshing for me to see just the wealth of knowledge and experience in that group. And we agree on so much, and we're all pushing for like more prevention and more holistic thinking, and a lot of similar themes come out. Like you say, it's very yes and, like somebody makes a point and then it's like yes. And that can in itself feel nice, especially like you say, in your role, you know, it can be quite a lonely role, the CEO role, to feel there are others who really do get it and understand, and that you have that network where there are others who see elements, and you're all coming from slightly different perspectives, but it's really fascinating to see that discussion unfold.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, it is slightly easier for myself and other members of the Mental Health Partnership, because we do have colleagues we work with on a daily basis and in a fairly small group. So I think, again, for maybe some of the smaller organisations, you won't get that necessarily unless you are part of something that is a group of like-minded individuals who come together to chat things over.
Yeah, because as far as I know, there's no equivalent in Bucks or Berkshire West of the Mental Health Partnership that you have in Oxfordshire. So it's clear we need more of those, or perhaps a Bob Wide one at some point, but that would present its own challenge, perhaps.
Well, and who knows what will develop over the next few years as well.
I love the idea that there could be more consistency of care across that whole area, and we could try and not reduce but uplift to the level, you know, the top level of whatever the provision is across. Would be great. Have you found you've built your network? Have you made new connections as being part of the Alliance?
A bit, but I think that we've been lucky within the partnership that we've already got some quite strong connections. I think in terms of the Alliance, rather than just a mental health subgroup, what's been really healthy, I think, is that some of the infrastructure organisations that we work with in Oxfordshire, I know that if they're actually at the Alliance, then rather than me have to think about what I do with something that's come up there, I know that they'll be doing that. So I think it's about that links and how it all can join up together better if people are all hearing the same things at the same time.
Yeah, and trusting that representation. I think it's been great that we have like the chair and the vice chair, and they're going to the board meetings and representing the views, because they are listening to us as a collective and feeding back, and vice versa, which has been really good to see unfold. So what would you say if you were going to recommend joining the Alliance to others?
I'd say just, even if you think you haven't got enough hours in the day or whatever, just give it a go. And join the Alliance and join then the relevant subgroup. Obviously, de facto, the subgroups have a smaller number of people attend, so it's easier to join in. But either way, I think it's time well spent.
And it's flexible, isn't it? So it doesn't matter if you can't make every meeting, and you can just dip in and out. But it just means, like you say, you can keep up to date with developments and what's happening, which is great. Well, thank you, Lesley, for your time. I really appreciate you doing the interview, and we have really valued all of your contributions in the Alliance, and especially in the subgroup, and we wish you well, and we look forward to carrying forth with your person who's taking over after
That's
yourself.
Right, yes. So I leave Restore at the end of June, and after really enjoying my 6 years here at Restore, and Libby Pepiat, who currently has just left a job at National Mind, will be joining as the new Chief Executive at Restore.
Great. Wow, she'll bring some really interesting experience to the table too. And I look forward to further conversations about the co-production and stuff as well, and with our themed work. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.